I wasn't prepared for Melissa as a lawyer to start talking about the heavenly courts and litigation and charges. And I didn't know where she was going with this. She handed me a tablet, and on the front page it said client attorney privilege with my name on it. And she said, we are going into the courts of heaven. She goes, I know you've worked through forgiveness for what the boys did to you when you were young. And I've counseled, I did all. She said, I know you did due diligence. But she says, there's times where truly it imprints on ourselves because it goes so deep. And so she says, do you remember the name of the 4 boys who beat you up?
Because you were sexually assaulted, yes.
I was sexually and physically, two separate. So 9 was a sexual assault. 10, I was jumped on the way home from school and beat up very badly. And so she said, do you know the boys' names that beat you up? I'm like, I don't. She said, okay. She said, did they punch you? Yes, write it down. Did they pull fistfuls of hair up? Yes, write it. Did they kick you? Yes. She goes, you have to list the crime because, in court, the charges they hurt my feelings. You punched me, you kicked me. And she said, the reason you need to do that is because these are charges deserving of punishment. And you can't release mercy till you've identified the crime. And I thought that is really good because if we minimize what's been done to us or even minimize what we've done, we don't see the justice of God in full order. Right. And when I walked through this prayer, so I wrote down, we went through trauma after trauma, and the back of the tablet was a prayer. It went something like this, let's say Brian was Brian, I bring you before the heavenly courts. You are guilty of jumping a little girl and beating her, punching her, kicking. You are guilty and deserving of punishment. But because of the mercy that I've received from the Lord, I release mercy to you. You are forgiven, acquitted, and free. And devil, you have no right to triangulate in this relationship anymore. I've pulled the hooks out of him and the hooks out of me. He is forgiven. I'm choosing mercy, and I will not commit double jeopardy. Anytime you try to bait me back into any kind of offense, I choose mercy. And one by one, we walked through the traumas that really we're still holding on. And what's so interesting is when I was begging God to help me sleep because of the fight-flight, I would sleep a couple hours a night, and you can't function without sleep. And I'm like, God, I have a promise from Scripture. I have a biblical case. I need sleep. And the more I prayed about sleep, the more he scooped up one particular trauma that wasn't going away. And that's what ignited all of these prayers. And so as we walked through the trauma, I will tell you, when we prayed for the last thing, in my spirit, I saw black soot just leave my body, and I felt my cells go whoosh. I felt my whole body just go into rest and digest. And I checked my pulse like a couple days later, and it dropped over 20 points. Wow. So my body released. And it's like that was the most significant release. And it's like your physiology really so responds to what you go through. So as God started to do that healing, then layer by layer by layer, more healing is coming. Symptoms are slowly going away. Energy is coming. But the biggest thing for me is I'm not bracing for impact. I believe goodness and mercy follow me.